Good afternoon YouTube, and welcome back to another video where today I'm going to be showing you 10 ways that anyone can improve their riding absolutely anywhere. There are a few real basic skills and a few things that you can either learn or keep on top of that will really help when you're out on the trail. So let's dive in and take a look. So the first move we're going to be looking at is actually the first move that I ever learned on a bike, and I'm performing it right now. It is the track stand. This teaches you such key and important control of your bike, and you'll find it comes in super handy on the trail, mainly when you're riding down really slow technical stuff, because it gives you that balance and control, and also when climbing something quite steep and technical as well. To learn the track stand, you want to find yourself a nice open area like we have here, and then what you're going to do is turn your handlebars whichever direction feels more comfortable, lock both brakes, and then you control the bike side to side if it starts falling one way or the other. If you feel like you don't have much control at the start, then you can let the brakes off, use the resistance on the cranks slightly, the bike will rock forward and backwards, but this is a really good way to understand the feeling and the balance that's required when doing a track stand. No matter what level you are, you can always improve your track stand or keep practicing it, and once you've got it dialed, you can advance things and make it a little bit more difficult by first of all taking your hand off. You can take a foot off, or you can be really flash and actually control the bike with your feet like that, and if you're really insane, then you can do that with your hands off. Let's move on to the next trick. The second move that we're going to be looking at, which will improve your bike riding skills, is the wheelie, and for this you need a nice open space and a very sharp rear brake. If you can master the wheelie, not only is it super good fun, but it also teaches you such good bike control, which is so beneficial for general riding. So let's take a look at how we do this trick. How do we do a wheelie? Right, first of all, it starts with what gear you're in. So I go in about my third or fourth chainring on the rear cassette. Any lower than that or any easier, then it's too spinny, you just out pedal yourself. Any stiffer than that or harder to pedal, then it's just too stiff and you won't even get it up onto the back wheel. Once you're in this gear, with your strongest foot, you're going to start at the top of the pedal stroke. As you push down really hard. At the same time, pull up on the handlebars and throw your weight back as if you're going into the armchair after a long day at work. If you do all this with the right timing, the front wheel will lift up in the air. Once it's up, we then need to keep it there, and this is done by using the rear brake and the pedals. So if the front wheel is going to drop, then you increase the pedal strokes and pedal harder to make it come back up. If you're going to fall off the back, then you feather the rear brake, and what I mean by feather is you pull it gently enough to lower the front wheel, but not too hard that it will slam it down. So this trick is very much about trial and error. As you progress and learn it, you will start to feel and understand the balancing point and the control needed. As for your body weight or body position, you keep it very neutral and try and just control it using the rear brake and the pedals. It sounds a lot, it's probably confusing. It isn't once you just get out there and try. So get out there, give it a try, and let's move on to the next trick. The third way that we're going to be improving everybody's riding is by learning the endo. So for the endo, you don't need much speed, but you do need a lot of front brake. Approach the trick nice and slowly, jam your front brake on, and initially push your body weight forward. However, very quickly, you're going to push your bum and your weight towards the back of the bike. This isn't going to make the rear wheel drop, because at the same time, you're going to aim to push the seat up towards like your chest and face area. What being in this position does is it gives you control over the trick. If your body weight's all the way forward and you go too far, then you just go over the handlebars. Once you're up there for long enough and you've held it and you're stoked, you can release the front brake, and this will help to bring the back of the bike back down to the ground, and you can roll off. Once you're comfortable with the endo and have it dialed, the more advanced version is the stoppie. It's the same principle, just with higher speed, and a bit like the wheelie where you feather the rear brake, you're going to feather the front brake to find that balancing point. It's a super fun trick and it looks really stylish, so go out there, learn it, and we're going to move on to the next one. Trick number 4, we're going to be riding no-handed. It's probably overlooked, but it is a basic skill which will improve your bike control. This trick is probably so overlooked as a basic skill and maybe even too easy. However, it certainly does require control. And if you can learn to turn and zigzag with your hands off, then that's really important bike control, which could come in handy out on the trail, especially if you wanted to learn a suicide no-hander or something kind of jump. How could you expect to take your hands off mid-air if you can't even ride along on the floor without your hands on the bike? In the way of teaching you how to do it, there's not really too much for me to say, except a higher saddle position will help. Speed will be your friend because it will help to keep the bike nice and stable when you take your hands off, and you just have to get out there and send it. Once you try it a few times, taking your hands off a little bit, you'll then be ready and realise that you're riding along the whole car park with your arms off. Also, make sure you're in an open space. Next trick. The 5th way to improve your riding is by riding stair sets. Not only is it super good fun, but if you're a beginner rider, they can be really intimidating and there's lots of skills to be learnt there. As you can see, we've found ourselves a nice little stair set. It's not too scary. So as you approach it, focus on your line, make sure the area is clear, drop in, let the brakes off, keep your body weight back. If you don't, then you're going to be too far forward and it might feel like you're going to go over the handlebars. And the main thing with stairs is not to hesitate as you approach the edge. If you're going to go for it, commit and go for it. They can be pretty intimidating, especially once you start progressing onto bigger things like this. Once you've mastered the small basic stair set, it's time to find yourself a real stair set like the ones that we have here. And these, riding something like this can teach you so many skills, because firstly, it's really tight to get into. You're dealing with quite a lot of height, which means you're going to gain speed and you don't have a lot of space. Firstly, you don't have a lot of space here to stop. You don't have a lot of space to make this turn. And certainly down there, you don't have a lot of space to actually stop at the end before you hit the fence. Not only that, a stair set like this is quite intimidating for the first time. So not only have you got fear to overcome, but there's skills that can be learnt from riding a setup similar to this. So like I was saying, these are quite tight to get into. There's a bit of a turn. Like on the other set, you're going to be keeping your weight back and regulating your speed by leaning back and using the brakes. This is where the track stand comes in handy as well, because otherwise you'd be all over the place. So ready to drop in. Once again, weight back and then control your speed by gently using your brakes. Lovely. Let's move on to the next trick. For number 6, we're going to be taking a look at the manual, and this is one of the most important tricks that you can learn on a bike along with the track stand, I would say. And the reason for that is because it just comes in handy in so many different scenarios, such as learning to bunny hop, lifting your front wheel up over an object, and jumping. Just being able to lift the front wheel with control is so important. Obviously what I'm doing here takes a lot of practice, but we're going to be looking mainly at just lifting the front wheel off the ground. The first thing we're going to be focusing on is just lifting the front wheel off the ground, and to do this you need to push your feet into the ground, at the same time pull on the handlebars with your arms and throw your weight back, once again as if you've got home from work and you're throwing yourself back into the armchair. It's the same kind of motion. It's really important to keep your hand on the rear brake, because if you do what I've just told you, the front wheel's going to fly up. To stop you falling off the back, you simply just pull the rear brake on. And if you can just learn this, then you can straight away take it to going up curbs or going over objects like logs or ditches or little holes on the trail, which is just such a key skill to learn. You might now want to carry on and be able to go on the back wheel for a long time. Your body weight needs to be over the back of the bike. I try to keep my bum in line with the rear axle. Obviously you're standing up, whereas a wheelie you're sitting down. Once you're in this position, you're going to keep it on the back wheel by pushing with your legs and using the rear brake. So if you're going to fall off the back, rear brake. If it's going to drop, you push with your feet, and that helps to bring the bike up. Once again, we're looking for that balancing point. Once you've found it, you'll be able to just coast for ages and manual wherever you want. It's one of my favourite tricks. I learned it a long time ago, and even now I find doing a long manual really therapeutic and relaxing. So get out there, give it a try. For number 7, I'm going to be teaching you guys everything that I know about bunny hops. The bunny hop is a combination of lifting the front wheel and the rear wheel together. The manual we just learned is the very starting point. The next starting point is lifting just the rear wheel. And the way that you do this is by curling your toes on the pedal, pushing back and scooping. You can practice on the floor without lifting the front wheel. Once you've got the manual dialed and the rear wheel lift dialed, it's a case of just combining them together with the perfect timing. So Lift the front wheel. As your weight goes back, you're then going to push into the pedals and curl your toes. As you do this and lift the rear wheel, transfer your body weight towards the center of the bike or back forward again, and lift the back up with your legs. That's how you then level out. Once you level out, be ready to absorb your landing by bending your knees and elbows and ride off having mastered the bunny hop. Trick number 8, and we're going to be taking a look at the fakie. The fakie is when you ride your bike backwards, and this will really improve your bike control because it requires a lot of skill and a lot of coordination to master. Start off nice and small, so do a little endo, just roll back, maybe a few cranks to start with, get a feel for it, and then you can work your way onto much bigger, longer fakies as you progress. Aim to keep your body at the rear of the bike because this just helps with steering for some reason if your weight's back, and aim to keep your body upright and your shoulders parallel to the handlebars. It's very easy to end up crouched to one side, and this just makes you go in a funny circle. Let's move on to the 9th trick. Trick number 9, and we're going to be learning the Zig Zag. So, just kind of zigzagging around the car park really. This is good for your bike control because you're rocking from one wheel to the other, you're twisting, you're balancing, there's quite a lot going on. And if you can do it in a nice tight space, then it's really going to improve your control and just awareness of the bike basically, which is important. Let's move on to the final banger. Trick number 10 is the back wheel hop. Basic version of a back wheel hop is to do a little endo, rock onto your back wheel, lock the rear brake and just bunny hop. You'll try to do it on the spot, but you'll probably go backwards. That's absolutely fine for learning. Once you get onto the more advanced version, you're going to use the crank, so kick it up like a wheelie, and then as you kick the crank you release the rear brake and do a bunny hop, and this is a repeated motion which will eventually create the back wheel hop, and you'll notice that you go forward. When you get really advanced you can do it on the spot, but that's not so easy, and we're not going to worry about that too much in this video. Be aware of falling off the back of the bike. It's maybe a good idea to practice going forward then going backwards, just so you know where that tipping point is. Then from there find the balancing point and enjoy the back wheel hop. So there we have it. They are my 10 things that anyone can learn absolutely anywhere. Obviously at the moment we're in lockdown, we're out of lockdown, it's here and there. Bike parks are opening, they're closing, but that's not an excuse to not keep sharpening your skills and to not keep riding. We've just been in a car park, I'm sure, or hopefully you have stuff like this near where you live, so get out there. Even if you can do these tricks, just go practice them. It never hurts to go over old stuff because they really are the fundamentals and the beginnings of all of your bike control. So to have them dialed and on lock, I believe is super important. If you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, leave some comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.